The execution was broadcast across all 17 core systems of the Galactic Empire. Standard procedure for political dissidents. Thomas Miller's crime had been simple. He had spoken against Emperor Valder's taxation of water on drought-stricken colony worlds. A minor offense, really, but the Empire made examples of even minor dissenters. As the holographic noose tightened around his neck, Thomas kept his eyes open. His final act of defiance. He wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing fear. "Any last words, Terran?" asked the executioner, a hulking centurion with silver skin who had overseen thousands of such deaths. Thomas smiled. "Tell my wife I'm sorry I'll miss dinner." Laughter rippled through the Imperial audience. Such a mundane concern in the face of death, how typically human. What the Empire didn't know was that Thomas had married Eleanor Miller, the most brilliant scientist the galaxy had ever produced. Though she operated under 11 different aliases across 8 star systems, the Empire knew her variously as Dr. Elizabeth Tarot, Professor Anna Baker, and Research Director Jane Foster, all leading Imperial weapons developers. They had no idea these women were one person, or that this person was now watching her husband die. Eleanor sat in her private laboratory on Proxima Station, the tears freezing on her cheeks in the cold air. Her hands didn't shake as she finished the final calculations. They never shook when she worked. "Vengeance is illogical," her AI assistant Michael commented, observing her work. "It won't bring him back." "This isn't vengeance," Eleanor replied, entering the last sequence. "It's revolution." For 20 years, Eleanor had served the Empire, building their weapons, enhancing their shields, designing the very defensive systems that made Emperor Valdor believe himself untouchable, all while hiding her true identity, all while collecting data, inserting backdoors, and waiting. She hadn't planned on moving so soon. Their plan had been to wait another 5 years, until the network was complete. But Thomas had been captured delivering messages to rebel forces. His capture had accelerated everything. "Initiating Protocol Orpheus," she said, her voice steady. Throughout Imperial space, systems began to fail. Not catastrophically. Eleanor was too precise for that. Power grids in military installations dimmed to 50%. Communication arrays encountered mysterious delays. Automated defense systems reported phantom errors. Nothing that would cause immediate alarm, but enough to create a cascade of confusion. Admiral Wilson of the Imperial Fleet frowned at his command console. "What's happening to our systems?" "Unknown, sir," his lieutenant replied. "Engineering reports no mechanical failures, but efficiency is dropping across all networks. It's as if the systems are deliberately slowing down." Wilson's eyes narrowed. "Savage?" "Impossible, sir. Our networks are closed systems. No external access." But Eleanor had never needed external access. For years, she had built the hardware with microscopic modifications, alterations so subtle that not even Imperial inspectors could detect them. Every weapon, every shield generator, every quantum processor made to her specifications contained what she called patience circuits, dormant until activated by a specific signal. In her laboratory, Eleanor opened a secure channel to the Rebel Command. "It's done," she said. "You have 48 hours of Imperial confusion. Make them count." Commander Jackson of the Rebel forces nodded grimly. "I'm sorry about Thomas. He was a good man." "He was the best of us," Eleanor replied. "They killed him for suggesting that people deserve water." The rebellion had been waiting for this moment. As Imperial systems faltered, rebel ships emerged from hiding places throughout the galaxy. Not a massive armada. They didn't have the numbers, but strategic forces positioned to strike at key locations identified by Eleanor's intelligence. Emperor Valdor received the reports with growing rage. How is this possible? How are they coordinating these attacks? Our communications are compromised, but theirs are functioning perfectly. His advisors had no answers. They couldn't know that Eleanor had designed a parallel communication network for the rebellion, one that operated on principles the Empire had never imagined. As chaos spread, Eleanor launched the second phase of her plan. Throughout Imperial space, public information terminals began broadcasting evidence of Imperial atrocities, including Thomas's execution. But more damning were the financial records showing how water taxes from drought planets were funding imperial luxury resorts on garden worlds. The people had suspected corruption. Now they had proof. On 17 worlds, protests erupted spontaneously. On 4, imperial governors were overthrown within hours. The imperial forces, confused by malfunctioning equipment and contradictory orders, couldn't respond effectively. 3 days after Thomas Miller's execution, Emperor Valder's palace shield failed completely during a rebel assault. The tyrant was captured in his private chambers, still wearing his night clothes. Eleanor didn't attend his trial. She was already working on the next phase, rebuilding. The empire had fallen with surprising speed once its technological advantages were neutralized. But governance was harder than revolution. 6 months later, she stood before the Provisional Galactic Congress, no longer hiding behind aliases. The water reclamation systems I've designed will end the droughts on the outer colonies within 3 years, she explained. The technology always existed. The empire simply found it more profitable to tax scarcity than create abundance. A representative from Earth asked, "Why did you wait so long to act? You could have saved countless lives, including your husband's." Eleanor looked at him steadily, because revolution isn't just about removing tyrants. It's about being ready to build something better. Thomas understood that. We needed time to prepare the alternatives: economic systems, governance structures, technology deployment plans. Without those, we'd just be replacing one form of suffering with another. She didn't tell them the whole truth, that Thomas had been the architect of the rebuilding plans, the visionary who saw beyond the fall of the empire. She had been the hammer. He had been the builder. In their small apartment on Proxima Station, they had planned a better galaxy together. Now she would build it without him. As she left the Congress Hall, Eleanor looked up at the stars visible through the transparent dome. Somewhere in that vastness, she thought she could feel Thomas smiling. The Empire had hanged a man, unaware that in doing so, they had unleashed the most brilliant mind in the galaxy, and with it, their own destruction.